Most people meet me and assume I'm someone's assistant. I've grown used to the look, that flicker of polite confusion when I introduce myself as the CEO of Aeris Core, a stealth mode enterprise startup backed by 3 major venture funds. I don't blame them. I'm 5'3", usually in sneakers, and I never finished college. That last part tends to make my family treat me like I dropped out to start a cult in the woods. But I didn't. I dropped out because I knew what I wanted to build, and no professor was going to teach me how to do it faster than I could learn myself. If you've ever felt like an enigma to others, those who never truly saw your potential, drop a comment and share your story. We're not alone on this journey. I'm Chloe Navarro. I'm 29. I run a team of 42, half of whom make more in bonuses than my dad did in his best year as a civil engineer. I've secured 2 patents closed Series B funding in 8 days. And if all goes well, our tech will be rolled out across 3 financial institutions by Q4. And yet, this weekend I'm back in my childhood bedroom surrounded by floral wallpaper and the vague smell of cinnamon, preparing for my older sister's engagement party. Like I'm still the underachieving little sibling with potential. The house hadn't changed much. Same mismatched framed family photos. Same wobbly banister my dad never fixed. But there were signs of an event in progress: floral arrangements on every surface, linen rentals stacked in the living room, and my mother's voice floating in from the kitchen, high-pitched and flustered. "Chloe, is that you?" "Mija, finally." She came bustling out, apron covered in flour, cheeks flushed. She hugged me quickly and scanned me up and down. "You look thin. Are you eating still vegetarian?" "Mostly," I said, lifting the reusable bag slung over my shoulder. "Brought some snacks just in case." My dad trailed behind her, carrying a box of wine glasses. "You make it down from San Francisco, all right?" "Yep, smooth flight. Still working on that marketing app." My mouth twitched. "No, Dad. I run a company now." He nodded vaguely. "That's nice." And just like that, I was 16 again, explaining to them what coding boot camp meant while they smiled and asked if I'd considered just finishing my degree like Emma. Emma. Of course. She made her entrance 10 minutes later, gliding down the stairs in a silk wrap dress and those Louboutin heels that always made her sound like she was stepping on applause. "Chloe," she exclaimed. "Wow, you made it! Look at you!" I looked at me, too. Black jeans, a gray sweatshirt, sneakers. "Hey, Em." She leaned in for a perfunctory hug, then stepped back to study me like she was updating a mental file. "Still in the Bay Area, right? What's your latest project?" "Something with payments." "Enterprise routing," I said evenly. "Data privacy, financial pipelines." "Sounds very secure," she said with a bright, empty smile. I didn't respond. She'd already turned away, calling out to our mom about table settings and guest lists. Emma was always efficient like that, efficient at dominating rooms, conversations, and especially comparisons. By dinner, the house was full. Cousins, I barely remembered, neighbors who still pinched my cheeks, and of course Emma's fiancé, Jordan, the kind of man who used words like synergy and had a calendar full of touch-base meetings. They'd met at MIT, of course. Where else Emma had gone straight through school, valedictorian, double major in computer science, and applied math minor in making me feel irrelevant. She co-founded a cybersecurity startup called Cadenza Systems 2 years ago and made sure everyone knew it. She was the family star, the one who did everything right, the one who stayed on the track. I was the dropout, the rebel, the mystery, and I had no intention of revealing just how far that mystery had come. That night I stepped out onto the patio for some air. Lucas was already there, leaning against the railing with a Topo Chico in hand. His tie loosened and sleeves rolled. "You look like you survived the first round," he said. "Barely." I stood beside him, watching the fairy lights blink across the yard. "They still think I work in digital coupons." He laughed. "You kind of do. Except with military-grade encryption. Don't remind me." He nudged my shoulder. "You're doing great." Lucas wasn't just my boyfriend, he was my co-founder, my partner in strategy, and the only person who'd believed in the Aeris Core concept before I had data to back it up. He'd stayed quiet during dinner just as we agreed. No mentions of our funding round, no references to board meetings, no accidental leaks. We were still in stealth and I wanted it that way. I saw Cadenza's updated deck, he said after a pause. Their burn rate's worse than we thought. They're down to 9 months. She'll announce a new round at the dinner, I said. She always has something to brag about. Lucas raised an eyebrow. You think she knows karate already declined? I shook my head. She doesn't know karate is us. Technically, Karate Ventures was the capital arm we had structured for strategic investments. A way to acquire valuable tech through indirect visibility. Emma had pitched them 3 weeks ago. Lucas had reviewed the deck I'd made the call. It wasn't personal. The numbers just didn't work. Still want to keep quiet? He asked. Absolutely. He gave a low whistle. You are playing the long game, Navarro. I turned to face him. She made a toast at Grandma's funeral about being the only true technologist in the family. I gave her the benefit of the doubt for years, but this time, I want her to see it. If you've ever felt underestimated and are on your own journey to prove your worth, hit that subscribe button to follow this story. You'll see persistence pay off. Lucas held up his bottle. To truth. I tapped his gently. To timing. Inside, the lights were dimming, and Emma was gathering everyone for a slideshow presentation. Photos of her and Jordan flashed across the screen at hackathons on yachts at Stanford pitch competitions. I sank into the back of the room and crossed my arms. Let her shine. Just a little longer. She had no idea that the company she built was 3 signatures away from belonging to me. By Friday morning, the house was in full wedding prep chaos. Ribbon-tied boxes, phone calls on speaker. Someone shouting about mimosa ingredients. It was like watching a perfectly choreographed tornado. I escaped early, slipping out before breakfast with Lucas under the pretense of needing coffee, though really we just wanted to breathe. We ended up at a corner cafe 5 blocks away. It had wire chairs, overpriced matcha, and merciful silence. I stirred my drink, watching the green swirl settle. She sent a follow-up. Lucas said, sliding his phone across the table. I glanced at the screen. It was an email from Emma to Karate Ventures' general inbox. Polite. Enthusiastic. Desperate. We believe this partnership aligns deeply with Karate's mission for scalable cybersecurity. Please let us know if we can revisit the terms. She thinks she still has a shot. She has no idea who made the call, I murmured. Lucas leaned forward. It's not too late to reach out. We could restructure it. Offer equity swap instead of majority control. Keep her as CTO. I shook my head. That's not what her board wants. They want a win. Any win. Even if it means selling to an anonymous acquisition firm before they bleed out completely. Lucas tapped the table. We're scheduled to close Sunday. You want to delay? No. I looked out the window. I want it done. Quietly. Then you'd better brace yourself, he said, eyes narrowing. Because tonight she's doing a pitch toast. She's bringing in potential angel investors to the engagement dinner. I froze. Investors. At her engagement? He shrugged. This is Emma. Of course it was. That night, the rooftop restaurant gleamed with polished marble and wine glasses that caught the skyline. Emma's taste was always somewhere between luxury retreat and TEDx. There were 27 people seated around a long banquet table, and from the way she was flitting between conversations, you'd think she was closing a multi-million-dollar deal instead of preparing to get married, which in her mind probably wasn't all that different. Lucas and I took our seats near the far end as planned. Not quite at the kids' table, but close enough to be forgotten. We were dressed for the occasion, he in his charcoal blazer, me in a silk navy jumpsuit Emma would probably call minimalist startup chic if she were feeling kind. The waiter poured sparkling rosé. Emma tapped her glass. I know this is an engagement celebration, she began beaming, but as most of you know, my personal and professional lives have always been a bit merged. Laughter, nods. Jordan squeezed her hand like a well-trained show fiancé. So, I wanted to share something exciting, Emma continued, eyes gleaming. Cadenza Systems is preparing for a Series C round. We've built a product that has already prevented over 200 corporate breaches in the past 6 months. And tonight we're announcing a new phase strategic expansion, powered by an upcoming partnership with a capital group that sees our vision. Chloe, I reminded myself. Smile. Clap. Sip your drink. We're finalizing terms this weekend, she went on. And I can't say who the partner is just yet, but let's just say they know exactly where the industry is going. Her voice rose slightly, reaching the back of the room where Lucas and I sat. They believe in innovation, in technical leadership, and in women founders who build from the ground up. Everyone clapped, toasted. Jordan kissed her hand again. Lucas leaned toward me, whispering, "You're going to pop a blood vessel. She doesn't even know she's talking about me." "That's the beauty," he said. "You're not stealing her spotlight. You built the damn stage." I looked down at my plate, suddenly unsure if I felt victorious or exhausted. After dinner, the guests drifted to the open-air terrace for cocktails and speeches. I stayed inside, cooling my cheeks with a glass of water and trying not to replay the pitch in my head. "She was good," Lucas said quietly beside me. "That was clean. Sharp." "Yeah," I murmured. "She's always been good at telling a version of the truth that puts her on top." Just then, someone cleared their throat behind us. It was Rosa, our aunt, my mother's cousin, the notary. She wore her signature red shawl and a knowing expression that always made me feel like I was 12 again and hiding cookies under my bed. "Chloe," she said, holding a manila folder. "Sorry to interrupt. I got something in the mail earlier. Company stuff. Didn't realize it involved you until I saw the signature." My stomach turned cold. She handed over the folder, eyes flickering between me and Lucas. "I haven't said anything. Just thought you should know. The final doc has your name on the contract as CEO." I opened it slowly. The closing documents. Legal, stamped with the notary seal. Sunday's date. My name on the line. My title. My company. It was official. Lucas exhaled beside me. "It's done." Rosa gave a small smile. "She's gonna find out soon, sweetheart. Might want to be the one who tells her." And with that, she drifted away back into the crowd. I found Emma on the terrace holding court with 2 of her investors and a man from her board. Her laugh rang out sharp and clear. She was in her element, brilliant, poised, untouchable. "Hey," I said, stepping into her line of sight. She turned. "Chloe. Everything okay? Can we talk?" She glanced at the group around her. "I'm a little busy, sis. Can it wait?" "No, it can't." Something in my voice made the investors excuse themselves. She frowned. "What's this about?" I held out the folder. She took it, flipping it open lazily at first, then slower. Her eyes scanned the page. Then again. I watched the blood drain from her face. "This is a joke," she said. "It's not." She looked up. "You bought us out." "Your board did. We executed the clause this morning. Your company is now under the control of Aeris Core." "Who the hell is Aeris Core?" I stared at her. Me. For a moment, she just stood there blinking. "You run Aeris. I built it. From scratch. You're the buyer, I'm the founder. CEO. The partner who believed in the potential of your tech, but not in your numbers." Emma's mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. "I pitched your partner 2 weeks ago," she said flatly. "You pitched me." Her hands clenched the folder. "You manipulated this. I followed the numbers. Your company is out of runway. You needed a buyer. We were the only ones who didn't flinch. You were sitting at the table, she hissed. You smiled through dinner. You let me humiliate myself. I didn't let you do anything I said evenly. You've been dismissing me for years. I just stopped correcting you. Does the feeling of truth being revealed resonate with you? Hit that like button if you also believe truth always finds its way out. Behind us, some of the guests began to gather, sensing tension. Jordan approached confused. "What's going on?" he asked. Emma turned to him. "My sister just told me she owns my company." Jordan blinked. "Wait, what?" "She runs Aeris Core," Emma snapped. "She's been hiding it. This whole time." The crowd stirred. Rosa, watching from a distance, took a slow sip of wine. I looked around, then back at my sister. I wasn't hiding. I was working. That night, the ride back to the house was silent. Emma didn't speak. Jordan sat with his hand on her knee, unsure what to say. My parents in the car behind us had heard enough to be confused, but not enough to intervene. Back at the house, I slipped into the kitchen to grab water. My mom followed. "Chloe," she began cautiously. "Is it true?" "Yes. You own Emma's company." "Not alone. We acquired it. Officially." She sat down slowly, looking stunned. "Why didn't you tell us?" I sighed. "Because no one ever asked what I was building. You were too busy being proud of her." My mom flinched. "Is it that serious?" she whispered. "Yes," I said. "And it's been serious for a long time." From the doorway, Emma's voice cut in. "So what now?" I turned. She stood there, no makeup, dress gone, wearing an oversized hoodie and eyes red. "You going to fire me?" "No," I said. "I want you to stay on. CTO. You're brilliant. You just need structure. A team. A path." Her mouth twisted. "Working under you." "Working with me," I corrected. She swallowed. "This wasn't how it was supposed to go." I nodded. "I know." We stood there in silence. For once, nothing between us but the truth. "You know what hurts the most," she said quietly. "You did it better than me. And you never bragged. You just built." "I didn't want to beat you," I said. "I just wanted to be seen." She looked away. "You got your wish." Maybe. But as I stood there exhausted, all I felt was a strange, aching clarity. I hadn't taken anything from her. I'd simply stopped pretending she had it all figured out. The morning after the rooftop disaster, I woke to silence. Not the usual kind, the gentle hum of kitchen sounds, the occasional distant laugh, but a stifling stillness. Like the house itself was holding its breath. I lay there for a moment in the twin bed I'd slept in as a teenager, staring at the glow-in-the-dark stars, still stuck to the ceiling. I'd imagined this moment so many times, what it would feel like for Emma to finally see me. See all of me. But I hadn't expected the victory to taste so bitter. The truth had come out, yes, but it didn't feel like freedom. It felt like grief. Like something between us had shattered that couldn't be glued back together with any number of signed contracts or business titles. Downstairs, I found Lucas sitting on the patio, already on his laptop, eyes narrowed against the screen glare. He looked up as I approached. "You sleep?" he asked. "Not really." He handed me a cup of coffee, extra cinnamon, just the way I liked. "It's quiet in there. You talk to her." I shook my head. She locked herself in her room. "I think she skipped breakfast." Lucas sighed and closed the laptop. "So, what now?" "We move forward with onboarding." I hesitated. Her engineers are good. There's real IP value. But she needs to be part of it. If she walks, I lose the insight. "You don't need her." "I do," I said. Not because of sentiment. Because no one knows the architecture of that system like she does. Her code is her pride. Lucas studied me. And what about your pride? I looked out toward the edge of the yard where the lemon tree we used to climb as kids was still standing. My pride got me here. But if I want to stay here, I need to make sure this isn't about payback. Lucas nodded. So, what are you thinking? I'm thinking I need to talk to her. Not as CEO to CTO. As Chloe to Emma. No business, no ego. Just truth. It wasn't until late that evening, after the chaos of a postponed rehearsal dinner and 3 rounds of family speculation, that I found her. She was in the garage of all places, sitting on the old couch we used to fight over during movie nights, wrapped in a blanket and scrolling through her phone. I didn't say anything at first, just stood in the doorway and waited until she noticed me. Emma looked up, eyes tired. Come to finish the humiliation, I sat across from her on the folding chair. No, I came to tell you I didn't enjoy any of that. She scoffed. Could have fooled me. Emma, I said gently, I didn't plan for this to go public. I wanted the acquisition to stay quiet, professional. You bought my company. I offered your board a solution. They voted. I wasn't trying to embarrass you. She stared at the ground. I worked so hard for that company. I know. You saw the way they looked at me last night, like I'd been faking it all this time. They weren't judging you. They were surprised. They were judging you too, she added, her voice softer. They had no idea you'd built all that. I let out a long breath. I didn't want to rub it in anyone's face. Emma looked up. Then why didn't you tell me sooner about Aeris? About any of it? I shrugged. Because every time I tried to talk about my work, you made it sound like a hobby. Like I was playing pretend. I figured, why bother? She winced. That wasn't fair. No, I said. It wasn't. But I get it. You were always the one who succeeded. It probably felt safer to keep it that way. We sat there, the hum of the garage refrigerator the only sound between us. Finally, she said, Do you think I'm a fraud? No, I said firmly. I think you're brilliant. I think your code is years ahead of the market. But I also think you never learned how to run a business. And that's okay. You weren't supposed to do it alone. Emma exhaled shakily. I didn't want to admit I was failing. Neither did I. For years, I failed at getting anyone in this family to take me seriously. But I didn't stop building. She looked at me then for real, not like a rival or a disappointment, just a sister. What now, she asked. I leaned forward. Now we work together. I'm not asking you to bow to me. I'm asking you to join me. CTO. Full control of product, no micromanaging. You do what you do best, I handle the rest. And the team, they want you. They've seen your legacy code. They're excited. She chewed her lip. And the engagement dinner? I smiled faintly. Still happening. I hear Mom's not canceling anything short of a medical emergency. Emma let out a dry laugh. She's probably printing new menus already. We sat in companionable silence. You're really good at this, she said suddenly. At what leadership? This isn't just a revenge arc for you. It's something solid. I looked away a little, caught off guard by the sincerity. Thanks. Do I still have an office bigger than mine? She raised an eyebrow. That's dangerous. Don't let it go to your head. She stood stretched and extended a hand. I took it. Truce? She asked. For now. She smiled. Good enough. The next morning, the house was back to controlled chaos, but this time it was different. Emma was calmer. Focused. I caught her reviewing the onboarding packet from Aeris, scribbling notes in the margins like the overachiever she'd always been. Our parents didn't ask many questions, but I could see the way they looked at me had shifted. There was curiosity now. Even a little respect. My dad handed me a plate of eggs without a lecture. My mom offered to introduce me to one of her friends who might need consulting. It was small, but it mattered. Later that day, Lucas and I met with the Aeris integration team via Zoom. Emma sat in, half pretending to just observe. Within 10 minutes, she was sketching out optimization paths no one else had considered. Afterward, Marcus, our head of technical integration, messaged me privately. "She's a beast. Please tell me she's staying," I replied. "She's ours now." And for the first time since the whole thing began, I believed it. That night, as I stepped onto the back patio with a glass of wine, I found Emma already there looking up at the stars. "I forgot how clear the sky is here," she said without turning. "Hard to notice when you're always above the clouds." She glanced at me. "You still think I'm that arrogant?" "No," I said. "Just driven. Like me. Only louder." She chuckled. "Fair." We stood there in silence. "You know," she said after a while, "I always thought you resented me." "I did," I admitted. "But I also admired you." She turned. "Really? You were smart, brave, confident. I just hated how small I felt in comparison." "I never meant to do that." "I know." A breeze passed between us, soft and full of things we hadn't said. "So she asked, you gonna boss me around now, only when necessary." She grinned. "I'm still older." I raised my glass. "But I'm still CEO." She clinked hers against mine. "Touché." It wasn't perfect, it wasn't clean, but it was something new. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough. Tomorrow we'd fly back to San Francisco. Together. Saturday arrived in a blur of hairspray table linens and the sound of my mother yelling instructions in 2 languages. If there was one thing Maria Navarro took more seriously than family, it was family events. She'd been planning Emma's engagement dinner like it was the Met Gala, and no amount of drama in the preceding 48 hours was going to derail her. Lucas and I arrived early to the venue, a renovated greenhouse-turned-event space nestled in the hills overlooking San Diego. Soft jazz played under rows of hanging string lights. Tables were covered in white linen, each with centerpieces of succulents and white orchids. It was beautiful. Deliberate. The kind of place where everything looks effortless because someone worked themselves to the bone behind the scenes. Just like Emma and me. She arrived an hour later, stunning in a crimson wrap dress and heels that matched her lip color. You'd never guess that 2 days ago she'd been blindsided by the business equivalent of a family betrayal. She smiled easily, chatted with guests, posed for pictures with Jordan as if nothing had changed. But it had. We had. I kept to the periphery, checking details, half mingling, half monitoring. Lucas stayed nearby, occasionally bumping my arm to remind me to breathe. "You look like you're waiting for a fire alarm," he said. "I feel like I am. We already signed the contract." "What's left to burn?" "Perception," I muttered. "Her control of the narrative." Lucas studied me. "You going to let her keep spinning it?" "I don't know," I said honestly. "She deserves dignity. But so do I." He nodded. "Then say something. The truth isn't cruel. It's just overdue." As the guests settled into their seats and servers began pouring wine, my mother called for silence. She stood near the head of the table, beaming with the kind of joy only a Latina matriarch watching her daughter get engaged could embody. "Buenas noches, everyone," she began. "Tonight, we celebrate not just love, but strength. 2 brilliant young people building lives, careers, and a future together." She motioned to Emma and Jordan, who stood with champagne flutes in hand, smiling like they were starring in their own magazine spread. "I will let them speak, of course," Mom continued. "But first, someone very special has something to say." My stomach dropped. She turned toward me. "Chloe, mija, you've been so quiet this weekend. Say a few words, see." Every eye turned toward me. Lucas glanced at me, his face unreadable, but his hand found mine beneath the table. Emma's expression didn't flicker, but her grip on her glass tightened. I stood slowly aware of the hush, the anticipation, the fact that for once, everyone in the Navarro family was actually waiting to hear me. I tapped my glass heart, hammering. I wasn't planning to speak, I began, but since I've been asked... Nervous chuckles. A few murmured, "Go on, mija." I looked down at Emma, then back at the room. I want to start by saying how proud I am of my sister. She's built something impressive, something real. Founders don't always get enough credit for that, especially women. Emma's posture relaxed slightly, a cautious nod. But I continued. What I admire even more is what it takes to keep building when things get complicated, when the vision shifts, when plans change. A pause. And as some of you may have heard, especially after Thursday night, Emma's company, Cadenza Systems, is beginning a new chapter. They've entered into a partnership with Aeris Core. A few polite nods from the guests who recognized the name. I kept my eyes on Emma. What many of you may not know is that I founded Aeris Core. I serve as its CEO. Now the room shifted. Real movement. Heads turned. Conversations stopped. Emma's jaw tightened, but she held her pose. I didn't share that to embarrass anyone, I said quickly. For a long time, I kept my career separate from my family, because I didn't think it mattered to anyone. But after this week, I've realized that staying silent doesn't help anyone. Not me, not Emma, not any of us. My voice wavered just slightly. I let it. Our companies didn't collide. They aligned. And together we're building something stronger. Because even when the road is messy, even when it hurts, sisters can still find a way back to each other. If you've ever had to fight to reclaim your narrative and stand up for your truth, share this story to inspire others. Sometimes all it takes is one brave voice. The applause was tentative at first, then stronger. Lucas squeezed my hand beneath the table. My mom was dabbing at her eyes. My father looked dazed. Emma stood slowly and raised her glass. To new beginnings, she said, voice clear. I lifted mine to meet hers, to telling the whole story. Later, as the guests began dancing and the music swelled through the greenhouse, Emma found me by the catering table refilling my drink. You ambushed me, she said quietly. You mean like you did Thursday? She smiled faintly. Touché. We stood in silence watching our parents slow dance like it was prom. I didn't expect you to actually say it, she said. Not in front of them. You would've, I replied. She nodded. Yeah, probably. Did I cross a line? Emma shook her head. No. You drew one. Between who we were and who we are now. That startled me more than if she'd yelled. I meant what I said. I told her. This isn't about who wins. Emma sighed. It was never about that. Not really. It was about being seen. We looked at each other, then really looked. Not through the lens of comparison or childhood hierarchies, but with a sort of fragile clarity. You still want me to stay on? She asked. I do. She nodded. Then let's build something better than either of us could have alone. At the end of the night, Lucas and I sat on the stone steps outside the greenhouse, our shoes kicked off the air cool against our skin. Inside, laughter echoed. I could hear my dad telling someone I worked in high-level cyber stuff, which was close enough for now. You okay? Lucas asked. Yeah, I said. Better than okay. You were brilliant. I leaned my head on his shoulder. I didn't do it for applause. I know. That's why it landed. We sat there in the quiet, a kind of peace settling over me I hadn't known I'd been craving. For the first time, I wasn't shrinking or hiding or waiting to be invited. I had shown up. Fully. Emma emerged a few minutes later, walking barefoot across the lawn. She looked lighter. I can't believe you quoted me in your speech, she said, sitting beside us. You said something quote-worthy for once. She laughed. Touché. We stared up at the stars together. 3 people once orbiting separate systems finally finding the same sky. We'll announce the merger publicly next quarter, I said. Controlled rollout. No drama. Emma nodded. Sounds good. Lucas raised an eyebrow. What about a launch name? Emma tilted her head. Something new. Something shared. I said, that reflects both sides. We exchanged looks. Emma grinned. Novatech. Lucas groaned. Of course you'd sneak a double meaning. She winked. Can't help it. It's in our code. And in that moment, I realized something important this story. My story was no longer about being underestimated. It was about being undeniable. 3 weeks after the engagement dinner, I sat across from Emma in a high-rise conference room on the 34th floor of our new joint office in San Francisco. Floor-to-ceiling windows bathed the space in light, and between us sat a large touchscreen table filled with real-time data dashboards. It was integration day 1. The real work was beginning. So Emma said, scrolling through a slide deck, your product team runs weekly sprints on Tuesdays, bi-weekly. Sync meetings are Mondays, code reviews Thursdays. Fridays are for product demos and investor briefs. She raised an eyebrow. Efficient? You sound surprised. Emma smirked. Just impressed. I didn't expect such tight structure from my little sister, the creative founder. I gave her a look, and I didn't expect the MIT grad to be taking notes. She grinned. Touché. The banter was easy now. Honest. No edge behind the words. Truthfully, working with Emma was both surreal and gratifying. She was sharper than ever, focused, technical, deeply in tune with her product vision, but also more open to feedback, more aware of her blind spots. She'd begun mentoring 2 junior engineers on our team, and I'd overheard one say, "She's terrifying but brilliant," which honestly was the best compliment anyone could get in our industry. I watched her scribble something in her notebook, still analog of course, and felt a strange sense of calm. For so long I had viewed her as a rival, a looming figure I could never quite catch up to. Now I saw her clearly, not as an obstacle, as a partner. That weekend our parents visited the new office for the first time. Dad walked through the security gate like he was entering a top-secret government facility. Mom gasped at every glass wall and brushed her fingers across every plant like they might break if she didn't bless them. "This is your space?" Mom asked wide-eyed. "It's both of ours," I said. Emma appeared beside me, her lanyard around her neck hair in a low bun, and a faint coffee stain on her blouse that told me she'd been on a call since dawn. "Welcome to Novatech HQ," she said. "We're still settling in, but it's home." Mom hugged us both, sniffling. Dad looked at me. "You built this?" I nodded. "With your own company, from the ground up." He nodded slowly. "We should have asked more questions." "You didn't know what to ask." "That's no excuse," he said. And to his credit, he meant it. After the tour, we sat in the cafe across the street. My father sipped his espresso like it might contain the secrets of the universe. My mother kept smiling at Emma and me like she was seeing us for the first time. "You two working together?" she said, voice soft. "I never thought I'd see it." Emma glanced at me. "Neither did we. You were always so different." "Still are," I said. "But that's what makes it work." Emma looked down at her cup. "It's funny. For years I thought I had to be the one shining. Like if people looked at you too long, they'd forget about me." I blinked. "You really thought that I did," she admitted. "And I guess I thought if I could stay loud enough, you'd stay small." I let that sit between us. The honesty, the guilt, the years behind it. "I don't want you to be small," she added. "Not anymore. I want us both to be big. Just in our own ways." I smiled. "Then let's build something so big no one forgets either of us." Over the next month, Novatech gained momentum faster than even we anticipated. The press release announcing the acquisition landed better than expected thanks in part to Emma's improved public posture and our investor relations team crafting the perfect Founder Sisters Combined Forces narrative. It trended on Twitter for 3 days. Investors were intrigued. Clients were curious. And most importantly, our teams were thriving. Emma and I had found a rhythm. We split responsibilities cleanly. She led product development and R&D. I handled strategy, finance, and partnerships. When conflicts arose, and they did, we stepped into a glass-walled disagreement room, a space we designed specifically to work through friction without disrupting the floor. The first time we used it, our junior PMs started a betting pool on how long we'd last without yelling. Nobody won. We came out 20 minutes later with a stronger roadmap and a shared Uber Eats order. We were rewriting everything: our working relationship, our family dynamics, even our legacy. Grandma Rosa called us one Friday afternoon and invited us over for dinner. Just the 3 of us, she said. No speeches, no champagne, just arroz con pollo and your abuela's judgment. When we arrived at her cozy hillside house, the smell hit us like a memory rice simmering in saffron garlic and oil-toasted almonds in the oven. She opened the door in slippers and a Yankees hoodie, squinting at us over her glasses. You two still talking to each other. Miracles happen. We laughed, stepped inside, and settled at the dining table. It felt like we'd traveled back in time, 2 sisters at the dinner table, only this time without the shadow of silent competition. We told Grandma about the team's progress, the funding interest, the speaking invite for Emma at DEF CON. She listened, nodding occasionally, interrupting to ask who Elon was and why everyone at CNBC looked like they were wearing borrowed suits. Midway through dessert, she set down her spoon and looked between us. I watched you two push each other away for a long time, she said. Thought maybe that's just how it would always be. But you've surprised me. Emma smiled. We surprised ourselves. Grandma looked at me. And you, Nina, I thought for a moment. For a long time, I said slowly, I thought being quiet made me stronger. That if I just worked harder, succeeded more, eventually people would see me. And now I realize you have to speak up even when your voice shakes. Because staying small doesn't protect anyone. It just hides the truth. Grandma nodded like I'd finally said the thing she'd been waiting to hear for years. Bien, she said. You finally stopped shrinking. Emma reached over and tapped her glass to mine. To expansion, she said. That night as Lucas and I drove home, city lights blurring past us, he glanced at me. You look lighter. I feel lighter. Because the company's doing well. Because the silence is gone, I said. That silence I kept between me and my family. Me and Emma. Me and myself. Lucas reached over, took my hand. You should write about it one day. I laughed. What a founder memoir. He grinned. Why not call it the Quiet Sister Theory? I laughed harder. That sounds like a TED Talk waiting to happen. He squeezed my hand. I'd watch it. Weeks turned to months. Novatech expanded. Emma found her voice in a new way, not by shouting, but by teaching, guiding, mentoring. I watched her lead code walkthroughs with interns, speak on panels about founder failure and resilience, and even once correct a male VC with quiet, brutal clarity. It was beautiful. As for me, I stopped hiding. I stopped shrinking in boardrooms. I started correcting people when they assumed Lucas was the CEO. I took space, and I gave credit, and I listened. One day, as I walked past the glass wall outside the engineering pod, I saw Emma writing something on the whiteboard surrounded by a ring of engaged, laughing teammates. She caught my eye, winked, and turned back to her notes. And I thought, this is what rebuilding looks like. Not revenge, not redemption, but recognition, recalibration, respect. Our family wasn't perfect, but it was healing. We still fought. We still defaulted to old roles sometimes. But now we talked through them. named them, let them go. We had stopped pretending. And in doing so, we had started again. Not as rivals, as sisters, as builders, as women who finally saw each other clearly and decided that clarity was far more powerful than applause. Did Chloe and Emma's story resonate with you? Leave a comment about which moment felt most healing. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories of family growth and the strength of truth.